Welcome to the Fitchburg Cultural Council. Tonight is our open public monthly meeting for the month of February. Today is Tuesday, February 16th. We're opening this meeting at 5:02 p.m. The Fitchburg Cultural Council is a volunteer body that is part of the city of Fitchburg, and we're also part of the Massachusetts Cultural Council. The Massachusetts Cultural Council works to elevate our rich cultural lives in the state of Massachusetts. The Massachusetts Cultural Council partners with communities across the Commonwealth, including ours, to expand access, improve education, promote diversity, and encourage excellence in the arts, the humanities, and the sciences. Through these efforts, we make our state a better place to live, work, and play, and to visit for guests. So please keep in mind tonight that all Cultural Council meetings are a matter of public record, with video and audio is being recorded and published live and on demand for FATV. And we welcome the public to speak. We welcome all the public who are joining us today. We welcome them to speak now at the beginning of the meeting, or if it pertains to an agenda item. So welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us. So to start off, we'd like to start off with a few announcements. First of all, I'd like to thank our council for the wonderful work they did on the grant season this year, for all of the volunteer efforts. We've completed our grant cycle, and thanks to Eileen, our grantee letters will be ready to go out after tonight's meeting. Also, our PR that announces the grantees will also be ready to go out. Thank you to Matt for his work on that. And we will have to send that to the mayor's office for approval, so that will be pending. Also, Audrey and I will be on Sam's show on Thursday at 2:45 recording, so that we can announce this cycle as well of grantees. And also I wanted to thank Eileen, Audrey, Jim, and of course, Mr. Joe Bowen for his assistance with our annual report, which we also will complete after tonight's meeting. In addition to the rest of our announcements, another announcement, I wanted to thank Eileen, Casey, Audrey, and Claudia for their flyering that they did in the community requesting new members. And we thank our guests who are attending tonight. We are looking for new members. So if there are any other announcements at this time? If not, we'll move on to the next agenda item, which the next item on the agenda was grantee appeals. And since we received word from the Massachusetts Cultural Council that we do not have any appeals to review tonight, we're going to move on to the next agenda item.
Tamar, point of order. Just wanted to give the public an opportunity to speak. It looked like maybe William Williams wanted to say something.
Oh, and, I didn't see that. Go ahead.
Yep.
Hi, thank you. I know Joe fairly well, but I see a lot of new faces. So I'd like to just briefly introduce myself and to let you know what my cause is and why we need money. So if you can give me a couple of minutes. My name is Bill Williams, and I am the director of the Fitchburg Military Band. Excuse me. And the Fitchburg Military Band, I've been conducting since 2013, when I literally got handed the baton by the longtime director, Carlton Thorne, who had the baton 45 years before I did. So between the two of us, we have 54 years of experience just doing that. I was born where the post office is, at Lucy Helen. Went to Fitchburg High School, got a degree from Lowell and another degree from Fitchburg State. Taught at Memorial up on Rollstone for 10 years, and then retired as director of music from Clinton High School in 2004. So that's about me. And briefly, the band has a much longer history than I do, but it also started pretty much at the Upper Common in 1862, when a group of Fitchburg Fusiliers, which were soldiers, banded together, and some of them were musicians, evidently, and they marched the Fusiliers from Upper Common down to the depot to participate in the Civil War. That was 1862. And that was just a little bit after the Confederates soldiers attacked Fort Sumter. The band has a scrapbook, and in that scrapbook, I have a picture of numerous bands, again, at Upper Common, and we are at that point welcoming the soldiers back again from the war. And that's a pretty spectacular picture. If you go on Facebook and you look up Fitchburg Military Band, you can see a lot of the history. So I won't bore you with a bunch of that stuff, but there's some kind of interesting stuff. And while I'm at it, you could also take a look at some of the clips. We perform at Coggeshall Park. Hopefully, during the summers, we have anywhere from 3 to, depending on funding, as many as possible, free concerts that we give on Sunday afternoons, 2-hour concerts, free, open to the public, giving people who may not have the opportunity to pay the $100 to go see a symphony concert. They can see live music up close and personal at Coggeshall. So that's basically it. Our history in Fitchburg, as I said, goes way back, but we have the numerous times when we have, for example, we played for the celebrating the opening of the Wallace Library. And 100 years later, we celebrated their centennial. A few years back, we played for the 125th anniversary of the Armory. And there are just a lot of community events that we have taken part in. And as recently as 2018, we have been trying to develop a bit of an outreach program. We commissioned a work by a very famous American composer named David Schaefer, who composed a five movement piece that tells the history through music of Fitchburg. And it goes from let me get my notes here, the raw frontier, obviously the Native Americans, through the civic pride, the second movement. And again, that's our involvement in military operations and that sort of thing. The third, which is really important to me because it's just such a fun piece to do, is the industrial prominence and dominance, really, of Fitchburg. Today, when we look at Fitchburg, you may not see the Ivor Johnsons and the Simon Saw and Steel and all of the textile industries, but we were a very potent force back then. And as a result of that, people like the Wallace family would support the band as well. And it was also a time when we would give formal balls and cotillions at the city hall. Upstairs was a huge ballroom, and you can just imagine the ladies in all their finery taking part in that. So that's that. The fourth movement is unfortunately the economic decline, which most northern communities, northeastern communities especially, had to deal with. Ivor Johnson went down south. There were just a number of GE. GE was in my lifetime and devastating. And then finally, in the fifth one, which is also a great movement, is the rebirth of the once and future great city. And I see that now with the new town hall, a new city hall, with you may not, I don't know what your feelings are on the university's additions for the theater district and things like that in the downtown Moran Square area. But I think I see it as being really positive. So
positive. Thank you very much, Mr. Williams, for sharing with us. The council did fund your grant. We appreciate you coming tonight, and we'd like to move on to the next agenda item. I really appreciate
Absolutely.
for
Thank you.
your attendance. I'd like to move on to the next agenda item because we do have two members here attending from the city who I'd like to make a few comments. We have tonight on our agenda is the Fitchburg Open Studios, which will be the 3rd year in Fitchburg. And we also have some scheduling that I'd like to discuss for the summer to get some of our dates sort of pegged on our calendars. And I wanted to ask Tom and Marissa if they could maybe tell us a few of the things that are happening in Fitchburg in the arts and culture realm, and anything that we should here at the Fitchburg Cultural Council be aware of so that we can make sure that we attend and support. Tom? Welcome. You're on mute.
You'd think I'd know this by now, but every meeting it happens. Thank you for inviting us this evening to talk arts and culture in Fitchburg. My name is Tom Skorowski. I'm the Executive Director of Community Development and Planning for the City of Fitchburg. And certainly what I do on a daily basis is, the arts and culture is embedded within it because we are working really hard, particularly in our downtown, but really throughout the city, to create a hub of arts and culture in downtown Fitchburg. And, whether that is, taking advantage of the full breadth of activities and events we have throughout the year, or downtown's bookends of course, the Art Museum to the west and the university to the east. And then, as the gentleman just alluded to earlier, the Fitchburg Theater Block project that's forthcoming. We are looking at, supporting a number of projects, including the Fitchburg arts community at the old B.F. Brown School to help cultivate that environment of arts and culture. And, certainly it's a big part of our programming efforts, both as a city and departmentally through my department has about $1 million CDBG block grant every year that we implement that covers everything ranging from social services to economic development, community development, and as of late has really been targeted towards the arts and culture. You may have seen in the last year, we supported a public art project through a mural from Monique Guthrie behind the library. In the next month or two, we'll be putting out an additional RFP for more public art downtown. And we just submitted and hopefully will receive an additional amount of funding for next year to have about $50,000 worth of public art in and around the downtown. So in a very literal, direct sense, we're trying to cultivate the arts and culture there. But, also trying to support the work of great people like, the Fitchburg Arts Collective, as they're looking to build a shared studio space on Main Street and working to cultivate arts and culture businesses downtown. And then finally, and most importantly, for the purposes of your discussion with Open Studios, we've been supporting for the last few years a downtown coordinator, Marissa Montero, who is with us tonight. And, Marissa had started work kind of right before the pandemic hit with the aim of helping to create a real ecosystem of events that is supported by arts and culture in the city. Of course, COVID had other plans, but as we're looking to make our way out of that soon, Marissa's going to be a key piece of that puzzle, helping drive us forward. And as to literally answer your question, I think Marissa would be the best one to really talk about the ecosystem of events taking place in the spring and summer. But I certainly look forward to Open Studios being a key piece of that puzzle. And I think if we truly want to be an arts and culture community, there needs to be these big cornerstone events like this celebrating the arts. So at that, I'll hand it over to Marissa.
All right. Can I share my screen? I should be able to share my screen, right? I'm going to try.
I'm not sure you'll be able to. There's only a couple people that were granted permission to share during the session.
Oh, I think I am though.
Okay, if you can, great.
Oh, yep, you are. You should be good.
If I,
Should be.
no, I don't know. No, go basic. It should be. Oh, there it is. Okay.
Yeah, it works.
Oh boy. Now I have to find it.
We see your whole screen.
I know. I know. but oh, there it is. But I can't see my whole screen. So I just wanted to say that I had started to come up with a little timeline of possible events that might happen this year if everything comes together and we're all able to figure out how to do events with health and safety restrictions from COVID-19. So from conversations I've begun having with other organizations and individuals in Fitchburg, I think in May, it looks like we might have Art in Bloom. And we're also looking to bring a classical pianist named Miki Sawada on her Gather Here tour. She's been touring around the country before coronavirus hit, going to different towns and performing classical music in places where it isn't normally performed. So we're hoping to have her on Activate Mill Street outside. In June, we're looking to do another Juneteenth, possibly another downtown festival. July, there should be a little mini pride, and maybe something will happen for Civic Days. I don't know what it will be. I think it will not be what it has always been traditionally, but I think this year they would like to do something, since last year it was just plain canceled. I think something will happen during Civic Days. I don't know if anything is happening in August, but then in September, there should be the Blacksmith Festival and the Open Studios. And I had just put together so people could see, if we do Open Studios outdoors this year, we're looking at having it up at the Upper Common. And I know you wanted to do it at, I think, the same weekend as the Blacksmith Festival, which should happen at Riverfront Park. And if we want to have another event linking those events, Mill Street is a prime candidate for that location, for having another place for people to go in between those events. And then if you're doing it outside, of course, there will be all of the fun permitting process of getting the tent and the music and the hawker peddler's license, but that's stuff that we can talk about more later, but we're prepared to help you through that process.
Thank you very much, Marissa.
Yeah.
We're going to need your support, so we appreciate it. So that answers our questions about the schedule. Audrey, I think we could jump into our schedule. So what I wanted to do tonight, everybody, is have your calendars out. I know we're going to need to ask some questions of Jesse and obviously all of us. There's a number of dates that we'll need to plan in addition to the Open Studios. And the top of that document, Audrey, which was the Word doc that said FOS planning, there's a couple of dates that I would like to put out to all of you as potential dates that we could think about. We need to do some marketing around the grantees to help them and support their causes, and also our grantee reception, whether we do that in person or in public, and also our creative meet and greet and our public input meeting. And these would all be prior to the Open Studios, which would typically be the last weekend of September, which is the same weekend as Blacksmith Festival, which would be ideal because then we can piggyback off Ashla's marketing and work together. So I wanted to put these dates out here to all of you and see what your thoughts are on these dates as potential options for our events that we need to have. Does anyone have any comments? Everyone's silent. Maybe I could direct this at you, Jesse, if it's possible with restrictions and doing things correctly, if it's possible for us to potentially use the, it's not called the Common, the courtyard at the museum. Would those dates be possible dates?
Yes, gathering with whatever the restrictions are on gathering crowds. Yes, and definitely it's going to be easier in July than in May, but it's definitely possible.
Okay.
It's available. It's available. It's just, I think in May we might still have a smaller capacity than in July.
And so outdoors would make sense at those for all of these. Okay.
But
Go ahead.
But I was just gonna say, you know, we'll have the building open so people can have restrooms, and there'll be access to the indoors, but I would say the major group would congregate outside.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone else have any comments or questions about these dates, or do they look like something that you guys agree with? Okay. All right, and so then I guess we can work out the details going forward at our next month's meeting then. So for the open studios, I just wanted to quickly run through this document, and we can work on this as we go. But if everyone agrees that the weekend of the 25th and 26th works, it's a 2-day event. And how it works in the past is everyone would be on the brochure and they could pop up at their own studio. Potentially, we could do something at the Common, but it would be a little more work for all of us because we would need to organize where people set up and space, those type things. So we could keep it simple as we did last year and potentially 2 years ago, sorry, and potentially pop up a table or something so that we're activating the Common possibly as like an information location. And maybe the first day we could pop up a table at the Blacksmith Festival as our information location. And that way we're participating with Ashley's event. And so what I found out from the Boulder Gallery, thank you to Peter Capadagli for hosting all of our equipment from the past. The area here with the signage, we have signage available to us. We're going to have to create stickers to cover the old dates, but there is some signage existing. And I'm working on some prices for covering the dates. So that's the first section here. There's a website hosting fee that I'll bring to you all next month that we can review. And then the brochure printing, I can't thank Fitchburg State University enough. They've offered to do our printing for us. So thank you so much, Matt. We need to definitely write a letter to whoever is the right party to thank. They're going to produce our brochures for us. So we just have to produce the file and they will take care of that. And then Audrey did a little research and we got a banner price. I'd like to activate somehow getting a banner across Main Street. And these are the prices from a local printer. We need to get from Marissa. I hope you can help us with the actual size and how we actually do that with the dates and other information. And so this is something that once we get the official size, is this official size, Audrey? Maybe I can ask you. He said it was.
Yeah, that's what they've used in the past for the Main Street banner.
Okay, so we just need to get permission, maybe, Marissa, to do a banner?
Okay, I'll look into it.
Okay, we don't know. So the question here then, longer term would be, do we do 2 sides or 1 side? And there's 2 different pricing for this. So this is something I figured we could get the final numbers and we can vote on that next month. But I just wanted to put it in our heads now. And then the idea here of popping up at the Common and at the Blacksmith Festival, we'll need to figure out those costs as well. And then obviously the PR will be on us to take care of and get that out to the public. So I wanted to get this plan going so that at least we have, we can get moving. And if anybody has any questions or comments, now would be a great time. Any discussions that we should have just to get the ball rolling.
Well,
if everyone,
just a comment about the sign that would go above Main Street. It only needs to be one-sided if Main Street is still one way, right? So I don't remember where the city was on that project. I don't know if by August, September, everything will still be one way. But if it's just one, then we only need one side.
Just to jump in briefly, the work will be underway at that point, but it very likely, it won't be complete. It'll still be one way until late 21, early 22.
okay.
I have a question. The studios, Tamar, are the artist studios going to be the same as in past years, a map to go around to the different studios? Or are you thinking about pulling more of the artists into central downtown?
Yeah, so that's the next thing. We could actually probably look at the application. So we were taught, I was sort of, this is going to be a lot of work if we do a festival, which would be an easier thing to do in terms of COVID, but it'll be more work for all of us. So I'm thinking if we start off with the concept that we've done in the past, which is at studios, we will need to come up with a list of where people can pop up. So in the past, the museum offered so much space. The First Parish Church offered some space. I know that there's another church that you had mentioned, Eileen, that would consider offering space. So I think we could pull together a list and have that available to the public. So anyone who wants to participate and doesn't have a studio, it would be good for us to encourage everyone to come to Fitchburg. And if they don't have a space, we can try to help them find one. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think this year might not be the best year because there's so many uncertainties. But at some point, as Fitchburg starts building up after this, you know, the restaurants come back and all of that, it'd be wonderful maybe in the next summer to have it all in the city. And I honestly think there's room to do that. It's a lot more work, but you know, maybe we get some of it started this year and plan for a bigger deal in 22.
That's what I was hoping we could do. Were you going to say something, Tom? I thought.
Well,
No?
now that Eileen's got us thinking ahead, I would just say, you know, one of the things once the two-way project's done, we'll be able to close off Main Street entirely without disrupting traffic. People can just take Boulder Drive to points east and west. So in my, you know, wish list would be that we close off Main Street and do this thing right at that point. And then we could really engage the businesses and the downtown with this work. And the whole Main Street would be our park. I think would be pretty interesting.
That sounds great.
When will that be completed?
It will be substantially complete by the end of 2021. And then there'll be sort of punch list items that'll be done in the spring of 22. But by the time we'll be looking at the following year's open studio, it'll be wrapped up.
Okay.
If all goes well.
So something to plan for next year. That's exciting. Could we look at the application now, Audrey? I'd like to have everybody give their input on this. So just really quickly, Jim, our treasurer, wasn't able to be with us tonight. But I know that Peter Capodagle, the Boulder Art Gallery, in the past had received the applications. And I talked to Jim. The checks obviously would be made to the city of Fitchburg for anybody applying. And Peter has offered that he would receive the information and we could pick it up from him. So that way, if somebody needs to ask questions or they need to pick up or drop off, if they mail isn't or email isn't what they want to do, there's a physical location where they can. So that's the last item at the bottom, that the checks would be made payable to the city of Fitchburg and they would be sent to Boulder, the Boulder Art Gallery, and then we can retrieve them and work with. Peter obviously would let us know who's signed up. So if you guys could just review this, I didn't change any of the numbers, just the dates and the times. And I mentioned that the website would have the list of places that they could pop up if they need, if someone from out of town wants to join us here. If anybody sees anything, let me know.
The date at the beginning of this still says 2020.
You're right, it does. Good call. I've had trouble with that all year.
As have we all.
It feels like it's still 2020.
I know.
Okay, anything else, guys, you see?
Was it complicated in previous years doing the where groups of 4 or more artists can apply as a group?
So what happened in the last year, we had Leominster had a group of artists that popped up together. We had First Parish Church, a group of artists there. Gardner, I'm gonna blank on the name, forgive me, whoever's watching from the public. There's a group of artists that building in Gardner that has artist studios. They participated as a group, as did Winchendon. So it would be nice this year if we could encourage everyone to come to town and maybe offer them options here, but we did have participants out of the town last time.
Okay, cool. So basically the group would apply as a location.
Right.
Nice.
And then they have one address versus several. Any other questions, guys?
It's good.
Thank you, Miriam. So if there's no other changes, I would like to have the council's approval on two things this evening, on the dates and on the application.
Oh, is there a reason why on Sunday it's going to start at 12 instead of 11?
We did that thinking of the people that would attend religious services in the morning. But I'm open to whatever you guys think.
Well, if
That
they're
makes
using
sense.
churches, then the churches probably would need that extra time, right?
That's what I think. You know, I think of my church, which has shown some interest in getting involved in this. They have a coffee clutch between 11 and 12. It's very important to some people. So starting at 12 would be more helpful for them.
Does everybody else, any other thoughts on that? I'm seeing some head shakes. Okay.
That makes sense. We don't want
So
people to go to a location and realize that it's not active yet and then give up on the whole thing.
Joe, any thoughts? I see your head shaking.
No, I'm just in agreement with the statements people are making. And
Okay.
if you're ready to move to a vote, someone just needs to make a motion. We can vote on both or either, whichever.
I so move.
So what was that, Eileen? So you'd like to,
I'd like to make a motion to accept the dates on the schedule and the times.
I second it.
so that's a first from Eileen and a second from Audrey. And Joe, could you assist us tonight with roll call? We need to go through roll call.
Yes.
Anyone speak?
Miriam? Oh, Emma, there you go.
Yes.
Is there anyone speaking to the motion? I kind of stepped on Tamar. Sorry, Miriam, we'll get to your vote in a sec. Okay, looks like done. So Miriam, you were a yes, is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you. Casey?
Yes.
Audrey?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Eileen?
Yes.
Jesse?
Yes.
And Tamar?
Yes.
That's unanimous. All the dates are approved.
Thank you very much. So we're going to get started getting that out to the public. That's exciting. Thank you guys very much. If there's nothing else on this topic, because there's going to be a lot in the months to come, I'd like to move on to the next agenda item. That works for everyone. So tonight we don't have Jim with us. I just want to let everyone know what Jim submitted to me before the meeting. He said that our treasury report with the city is the same. It has been for the past couple months. Our local funds are $1,645.95. And our MCC funds are $6,841.92. That's all I have for the treasurer's report. I'd also like to review the last meeting minutes. We have 2 meeting minutes to get through. Hopefully you guys had a chance to read them before today, so we don't have to read them too long on the screen. Audrey, could you share those? So this is from the PR subcommittee meeting that was on February 1st. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve these minutes?
I make a motion to approve these minutes.
Second. Anyone speaking to the motion? So we had a motion from Audrey to approve them and from Casey, I believe. The second motion. May we do roll call, Joe, please?
Hey, Miriam?
Yes.
Casey?
Yes.
Audrey?
Yes.
Matt? Eileen?
Yes.
Jesse?
Yes.
And Tamar?
Yes.
Unanimous approval on those minutes.
Thank you. And then we have the next minutes, which were from the last meeting we had. This was from our last grant review meeting.
I move to approve the minutes.
Second,
The motion from Eileen to approve these minutes from January 26th. Jesse put in the second motion. Anyone speaking to the motion? Thank you. Joe, may we do roll call?
Okay, Miriam,
Yes.
Casey,
Yes.
Audrey,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Eileen,
Yes.
Jesse,
yes.
and Tamar.
Yes.
Motion carries. Minutes are approved.
Thank you very much, everyone. So that concludes our agenda for today. I appreciate everybody attending. I can't thank Marissa and Tom for visiting us and giving us some information on the city, and for our other guests, Megan and Derek and William. Thank you very much. If there's no other business, which we don't have any on the agenda, I'd like to conclude the meeting today at 5:38. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, could you raise your hands? Thank you very much, Fitchburg. Have a good evening, and we look forward to seeing you next month. Joe, is there anything I missed?
Nope, everything is great. Good job tonight.